it wasn't if we were going to win or lose, it was how much we would win by.
It was the ultimate team, and not just the first 5, it was the ultimate team from 1 to 12.
We didn't have any Nintendos or Facebook or any of that other crap. I mean, we played basketball.
I just remember a very calmness came over me, and I knew we had done something great.
And it has not been done since. The 1976 state champion Eastwood boys just may be the best El Paso team nobody remembers.
I don't think we do get the recognition that we might deserve.
Where's Eastwood? Hey, hey, we're here.
The Troopers knew they had a good team, but they weren't sure how good till they went to New Mexico to face Hobbs High School, a perennial national powerhouse led by legendary coach Ralph Tasker.
And that was a great game. It was a close game, it was a great game, but when they came here, we took care of them. And we just whooped their butts.
Ralph Tasker Boulevard, the gym, the fans.
In the paper the next day, Ralph Tasker was quoted as saying that was a fluke, and that our boys just weren't ready to play, and this and that and the other. So as fate would have it, that year we had scheduled Hobbs to come back to Eastwood a week later. So we just went ahead and beat them by 30 the next week.
We all got to play. Yeah, I couldn't believe I was playing against Hobbs.
Eastwood finished the regular season 26-3. 3 wins later, they found themselves in the state semifinals against Victoria High, the top-ranked team in the state. Gilbert Shepard hit a shot in the closing seconds to force overtime. Jim Bowden hit a shot in the closing seconds to win it, sending Eastwood into the state championship game. So whose shot was bigger? Okay.
Well, Gilbert's shot was bigger.
Bowden's shot, of course, because...
See? No I in team. In the championship game, Eastwood staged a furious second-half rally to defeat John Tyler.
It's probably the best second half of high school basketball I've ever seen.
Shepard was the high scorer with 19 points. He didn't know it until someone told him. 22 years later. Again, no I in team.
There were no egos on our team. We probably couldn't even tell you who the leading scorer was on our team. And that's a testament to our team, because nobody really cared.
It sounds cliche, but they just wanted to play basketball, and they loved to play against each other. In fact, their toughest games that year were not on the schedule.
Our hardest games were in practice.
So we played basketball 300 and you think conservatively 350 days a year?
The best games are right here in this gym amongst ourselves. And we would go after each other like cats and dogs. But our best games we played nobody ever saw. Maybe
that's why a lot of people have a tough time remembering the 1976 state champion Eastwood Troopers. You know, so many times it actually is cliche. You hear there's no I in team in sports. In fact, I think it's used rather loosely today. Well, today we're going to speak to a team that really exemplifies there's no I in team. In fact, they were doing it before it actually became cool to say no I in team. We're talking about the 1976 state champion boys team from Eastwood High School. And some of those players, and in fact, one of the coaches, Coach Pippin, has agreed to join us today to talk about that magical year of 1976. Guys, thanks for coming down. To my left is Doug Rudder, bench player on that team. Dee Lefevre also came off the bench. And of course, Gary Pippin, who a lot of you probably know, is still the head coach at Eastwood High School, but was an assistant on that team. You guys, let's get right to it, because it's so much fun telling your story. This isn't just a basketball team that won state. This was a team in every sense in the word. Doug, how come?
You know, different facets of our team played together from the age of 8. You know, we all got split up in elementary school and then come back together in high school, and we all knew each other well. We played together in the gym a lot, and we just meshed together as a team.
It seemed like it was the Hobbs game, you know, or at least the Hobbs series, because you played Hobbs High, perennial power, twice that year. It seemed like that was the time when maybe you guys were like, hey, you know what, we've got a good team here. I mean, do you agree with that?
I remember the team had a players-only meeting at the hotel, and the coaches weren't there. I don't even know if you knew that.
No, I don't think we did.
You remember that? I mean, we talked about it right before the Hobbs game, and talked about some of the things that the Hobbs team had done that really kind of took advantage of us, and got together and said we weren't going to allow that to happen, and we ran them right off their court. And their crowd, they'd packed that gym, and it was so loud. and they were quiet after the first quarter. And at the end, I think they really came to appreciate it. They ended up clapping for us once it was over, and we felt real good about that game. And then they came back and played us again in our gym, and it was worse there.
We did speak with Jim Bowden, of course, you know, a key member of your team and one of the starting 5 that year. We asked him about that Hobbs series. Here's what Jim Bowden had to say about what it was like after Eastwood beat Hobbs that first time in 1976.
That was the state championship for an El Paso team. To go up to Hobbs and to beat them in their gym, and they had a probably 20-year winning streak going, and we beat them. And we didn't only beat them, we beat them by about 29 points. And to win that game, that was the state championship. We celebrated and were more excited about that game, honestly, than we were the state championship game.
Ralph Tasker, it's real interesting because when I became the head coach, we went back up there to play, I don't know, 10, 20 years later, and he was telling me that he still had a tape of that game and would look at it almost every day. He never forgot that game.
I don't know if people realize every team in our district that year won over 20 games. Burgess won district the year before. They really prepped us for the playoffs. The playoffs were pretty easy compared to some of the battles we had.
Yeah, and without a doubt, of course, those teams helped you get better. But I have a feeling that the second and third teams on your team helped your guys and your starters get that state championship. Wait a second. We'll talk about that after the break. More with Eastwood High School's 1976 Boys State Championship team after this.